Communication log. Sole standard date. 10th, 12th, 2552. Civilian trade transport. Culture shock. Begin recording. Terra military vessel, you are surrounded. You will surrender or be fired upon. Power down all shields, weapons and engines. I repeat, surrender peacefully or you will be destroyed. Whoa, wait a second there, pal. This ain't a... Terra military vessel, do not resist. You are in violation of the temporary ceasefire agreement by operating a non-civilian vessel in this sector. Our actions are legal under the agreed-upon terms signed by our respective nations. Prepare for boarding and seizure of your vessel. All goods, military equipment, supplies, and weapons aboard are now the legal property of the collective military. Terra military vessel, please confirm your compliance or be destroyed. Like hell you're taking my property, and by the love of God you ain't touching my guns. I don't know what kind of space lettuce you've been smoking out here, buddy, but this here ship ain't no Terra military vessel. This is your last warning. Surrender peacefully or be destroyed. This is an order, not a request. Oh, now you listen here, you snake son of a... Clyde! Oop, right, sorry, hun. Now, you listen here, Gecko Brains, and you listen good. 'Cause right now you're fixing for a fight. But my lovely wife here is inclined to think we can keep things civil, and I'd like to agree. So, as I've been trying to tell y'all, fine, gentle beings, this ship is not a Terra military vessel. You have left us with no choice. You have been deemed an active threat for resisting capture and active hostility towards the collective military. Any remaining survivors who accept surrender will be spared under the terms of the ceasefire agreement and detained as a POW. Until the terms of the Terran Republic surrender are ratified, you will remain in our custody. The Terran Republic surrender? Hold up, resting? Active hostility? Who the what is the... What? I should kick your fucking... Oh, for the love of space, Jesus. Whoever you are, will you please just let me speak? Terra military vessel, there will be no further communications. Translation error. Continued inaudible anger vocalizations for 15.32 seconds. Fuck it, this is self-defense. Barnett, charge up the BFG. Looks like we're shooting our way out of this one. Again? Recording terminated. Clyde sighed angrily. Here's a damn Toyota Star Runner. 2518. It's practically vintage, for God's sake. He sniffed, though I'll admit a slightly modified Toyota. The collective ambassador pounded his four-scaled fists into the metal table of the interrogation room. It has the weapon tonnage of a light cruiser, human. Do not lie to me, he practically screamed at the man, who was nonplussed at the snake-like alien's little hissy fit. Hissy, Clyde chuckled under his breath, an action which only served to send the green alien into further paroxysms. Yet, still unperturbed by the furious alien across the table from him, Clyde simply frowned as he leaned back with his arms crossed. Yeah, well, guess what? It's all within the legal limit, Mr. Ambassador, he chided, punctuating his last word with air quotes. The human officer, David McCarthy, allowed himself to look only slightly amused as he read from the data slate in his hands, ignoring the walking personification of righteous indignation that was the collective ambassador. Mr. Decker is correct. His ship is within the legal limits for a hauler of that tonnage. Barely, though. He scoffed as he scrolled through the report. Well, besides his ship tabs, those expired in... 2552. David looked at the man in question, eyebrow raised. Really? Clyde winced before looking up at the ceiling and sighing in defeat. He knew that arguing with government spooks never got anyone anywhere, so he decided to bite the bullet. Alrighty then, go on, lay it out for me. What's the damage looking like? Well, considering that after reviewing the ship logs from both sides of the incident... David looked to the reptilian ambassador. Might I add that some of the aforementioned logs were clearly altered to be biased against Mr. Decker, and yet, despite this, the powers that be have unanimously agreed that Mr. Decker did indeed act in self-defense and all charges have been dropped. David snorted in amusement. Actually, not all charges. Mr. Decker was charged with having expired tabs. Total fine, 228 credits. You're free to go. Oh, and please pay your fine on the way out. No offense, but I think we both don't want to see you here again, he said, smiling as he stood from his chair and offered his hand. Thank you kindly, Mr. McCarthy, and I'm inclined to agree. Though if I do see you out there in the Starfield, drinks are on me, you hear? They shook hands and laughed, and before taking his leave, Clyde made sure to give the oversized snake gecko ambassador his best shit-eating grin. No charges? That man destroyed a military patrol ship and severely damaged 3 more, and you're letting him go with a fine? The ambassador erupted. David gave the alien a long, unamused stare. Ambassador, it is abundantly clear from the logs that he acted within his rights as a Republic citizen, and in self-defense. In fact, it was the collective that broke the terms set in our ceasefire agreement by attempting to seize and destroy a civilian ship. Not even in collective space, might I add. That ship is in no way civilian. It was identified with markings associated with a military weapons manufacturer. I want that criminal captured and tried in the collective for murder. I want him dead. The ambassador continued to rage at him, as David wondered if the collective purposely sent the most obtuse and idiotic diplomat to human space. It was like they were just grabbing random snakes off the ground, giving them arms, a suit, and a briefcase without ever teaching them how to think intelligently, or any teaching at all if he was being honest. Staring blankly at the wall behind the still screaming, mildly dangerous noodle/gecko man, David smirked internally as he recalled an old quote he knew. I'm guessing you weren't burdened with an overabundance of schooling. What? The ambassador shouted, half in anger and half in confusion at the non sequitur, pausing his little fit of rage. Oh, nothing, David said with a wave of his hand. Although I do regret to inform you that your request will not be possible, Ambassador. Clyde Decker is a Republic citizen who will and has been judged under Republic laws to be an innocent man. Though we will be putting out an official statement advising citizens against writing Live, Laugh, Lockheed Martin, or something equivalent to that, on their ship hulls, to avoid any future misunderstandings, he laughed, putting a hand on the furious ambassador's shoulder. This is outrageous! I will be informing the collective about this matter, and I can assure you that they will not be pleased at the upcoming peace conference. Do not expect any mercy from us, humans, unless you comply with my demands and hand over the criminal, he hissed angrily in David's face. Unfortunate, but the Republic stands by its decision and its citizens. Smiling widely at the alien, David squeezed its shoulders tightly, earning a pained hiss from the being. Or need I remind you, Ambassador, that it was the collective that called for the ceasefire, not the Republic. As Mr. Decker had so eloquently put it, it's not our fault that the collective fucked around and didn't like what they found out. So, Ambassador, why don't you kindly fuck off?